Alright, we're going to go on a little tour of Shishikoni-kai-mandir. These are some of the flowers, dahlias, marigolds that go into Krishna's vases, garlands. These are some of the tomatoes. We got them all over the place. This little box here is a food dehydrator into which we put them to dry them for later use. Some of the marigolds that go into Prabhupada's garlands. A couple raised beds of tomatoes. As you can see, lots of tomatoes. This is when they're all coming ripe. This is August 14th, 2021. We'll go back over here to one of the gardens, Govindas Gardens. I just picked a couple of these paprika peppers this morning, as we can see here, sitting nicely next to Tulsi Devi. I chant to her in the morning with my rounds. Here's a Helen of flowers. These go into the vases. 4 large stands of pole beans. Out there is a ton of stuff, including the greenhouse. We'll swing around to the left here. Get a better shot of these things. Yeah, here we go. So in the front here is what's left of peas. They're really pretty much gone by now. Up here is, I'll give you a better shot of the whole beans. We get tons of these. We save them every year. We dry them, shell them out of their casings, and then put them in jars and have them later during the year in sabji soups, and we make them into bean pate. You can see more of the beans here. Right in front of us here is beets, mustard greens, coriander, kale, Swiss chard. That's asparagus over there in the back. More pole beans. This big purple thing here is broccoli. No, not broccoli, Brussels sprouts. And here's the squash patch. They're just growing with reckless abandon. I'll show you one of them right over here. This is called Blue Hubbard. This thing's probably about, I'd say 18 inches long. Probably be getting a little bit bigger. They're huge. They have so much squash in them. Here's another squash that's just kind of taken over the pea fence. As you can see, they're all over the place. There's some more hiding back there. It's always a surprise when all these leaves die back, and then you see the treasures that are left behind in the form of food. Here's a rogue pumpkin. Just kind of grew through this fence. And then here's the greenhouse. We've got 100 tomato plants. They're all getting nicely ripe. And down this row in the middle is basil and mostly peppers. So this is real opulence, not paper money. Food. We need to eat food, drink water, and breathe air. Down here is some hot chili peppers. Alright, we're going to go back out here the way we came in. Some more peppers. More peppers. Peppers are very good for adding to sabjis. Make them into chances. Alright, over here we're going to go, these are more flowers, sunflowers, dahlias, marigolds. There's a chickadee. Chickadee. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. They're very curious birds. Chickadee. And this is an apple tree called a chehalis. It's covered with this gray film, which is KO and clay powder. You mix it with water, spray it on, and it keeps the bugs, the worms, out of the apples. Take a look around this corner. This is the hoop house, mostly peppers, some eggplants, but as I see here, mostly peppers. And we pick them both green and red because there's so many of them. And the ones we can't pick fresh at the end of the season, we just hang them up in the kitchen and let them dry. This is a Akane apple tree. As you can see, it's covered with apples, also covered with the kaolin spray. Hopefully it works. This is the first year I really seriously doused this tree with this spray. Over here are some random brassicas. They were left over. I needed a place to put them. And you can see all in between all these brassicas is purslane. Purslane is one of the best vegetables for brain health. It's got some kind of chemicals in it. I don't remember what it is right now, but everybody's heard of Alzheimer's. Well, purslane is one of the things that keeps you from getting Alzheimer's. This is our last stand of peas. Right now the weather's like high 80s, low 90s Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot for around here. So I keep these guys watered. This is the basil, the main basil patch. I think there's about 30 or 40 plants in here, and all this is going to go into making pesto. And this is the corn patch. There's probably 250, 300 corn plants. Right here where this ladder is, I just picked about 50 pears. Woolleyans are huge, they're about 8 inches long each. This is an interesting apple tree. It's called a Cox Orange Pippin. It's one of the sweetest apples in the world. And they're also good keepers. I got these apple trees that are all winter keepers. I don't want something that's going to rot before I can eat it. Here's a blueberry setup. We got about 20 blueberry plants in here. And as you can see, they're coming along nicely with blueberries. Over here is the raspberries. We eat these fresh and freeze them, make them into syrup, make them into drinks, things like that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Here's another pear tree. We got 3 of them. These 2 back here produce the most. The one in the front just gives a little bit. This is called a rescue pear, and they're kind of medium-sized pears. Delicious. Pears are really interesting. It's a real trick to figure out when they're ripe. But even if they're past ripe, they're still good. So that's kind of it. I'm just going to wrap it up here and go back and pick up these paprika peppers and bring them inside. So this is a good portion of Govinda's garden. In the front there's a whole lot more happening with flowers. Tons of flowers in the front, fruit trees and things like that. So, Hare Krishna, all glories to Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.